What I like to say or begin with is that technology is a lot like cheese. And I will tell you what I mean by that by the conclusion of this webinar. And I'm not talking about your technology or your website stinks, okay? But technology and your website really are a lot like cheese. And I want us to think about a couple of things here. Now, I know that this person looks like he or she may be pouting, and that when I typed in thinking on my graphics website, this was one of the choices. So he's thinking, and I want you to think with me for a moment about really how consumers are changing in the way they purchase properties or purchase products in general. And I'm going to show you one product on the next slide, two pictures of one product, a picture from 15, 20 years ago and a picture from today of the same product. And I want you to think with me for a moment about how the purchase of these products has changed. Okay, are you ready? It's a television set. Think about that for a moment. How has the purchase of a television set changed over the last 15 or 20 years? Well, there's several reasons for this. Number one, there's just a lot of stuff out there on the internet, isn't there? I mean, there is an enormous amount of information. You can find virtually anything. I belong to the St. Louis chapter of the National Association of Realtors, or pardon me, I do belong to the St. Louis chapter of the National Association of Realtors, but I also belong to the St. Louis chapter of the National Speakers Association. We have some wonderful guest speakers that come and visit us. I mean, top name people from around the country. And this last week we had a guest speaker, and we had several visitors that, because anyone can come and sit in our meetings and join us, can pay a small fee. And we like to send folks a thank you letter. And there were a couple of people that were there. I had their name, but I didn't have their email address. They didn't sign their email address in or their address. And I went to Google and I was able to find their information within just a matter of a few minutes by using some keywords and some investigative techniques. But there's a lot of information out on the internet, and it's really changing the way consumers buy and sell stuff. Plus, we live in this connected world where we have a smartphone and we want to see what reviews are. It literally is a different world, isn't it? Social media, the ability to check prices, and on and on. So how did our parents buy this product I showed you earlier? Well, I remember the first television set I bought when I graduated from college. I thought it was really cool because I had a remote control and my parents didn't have a remote control for their TV. But I went to Harder and Patterson. Mr. Harder took me to the back of the store where they kept the TVs on shelves on next the back wall. And Mr. Harder said, this is the TV I would recommend. It's a new TV we just got in. And by the way, John, it's got this fancy gadget here where you can actually sit in your chair and use this to change the channels and make the volume go up and down. And Mr. Harder told me the TV would be a good TV. And that's the TV I purchased. Why? Because I trusted Mr. Harder. My parents bought their TV from Mr. Harder. There were no reviews. I couldn't grab my smartphone and check on Amazon or CNET or put a tweet out for Facebook friends to help me out. I just said, I'll take that one, Mr. Harder, because I trusted him, and that's the TV I would go for. Now, I know 20 or 30 years ago, there were a few people who would have waited and maybe talked to their friends, dug through a big stack of Popular Mechanics trying to find the right issue that had television reviews. But the majority of people wanted a television set like myself, and we trusted Mr. Harder, and I said, that's the one I'll take. But today, it's totally different, isn't it? People are buying television sets right from their smartphone. You can go, if you, most people, and if you're like me, I go in and look at a product in a store. The first thing I do is pull my phone out, go to Amazon, and I want to know what the reviews are. If it has good reviews, I'll take it. If it's a 2-star, forget it. I'm not going with that product. And then I may check Best Buy, or I want to find out where I can get the best deal on this TV. But I can even, and many other people can take their smartphone out, scan the barcode, and actually be told where they can go and find the best deal for this television set. It is totally a different way that we do business today. The question is, how does this affect the home buying and selling process? A business where we once always provided personal care, close-knit service, and a business built on relationships is now becoming a whole different way of doing business. I wrote a contract this week. I had a lady call me. I was speaking. I had a really busy speaking week and a busy real estate week. I wrote 2 contracts and gave 2 presentations this week, but I flew Sunday down to Gulfport, Mississippi, and spoke at a big RE/MAX event in Biloxi. And great folks, and had a wonderful time there, spending one day speaking to them. Then I flew back home and got in my car and drove to Branson and did the Heartland region of the same big RE/MAX organization, but which entails Arkansas and Missouri, Oklahoma, and Kansas. And while I was in Branson, a lady called me and wanted to look at a condo I had listed. It was an older lady, and I told her, I said, I'm speaking today in an event or tomorrow, but I can show you the condo on Thursday. And she said, that's fine. We'll look at it on Thursday. So we set a time up. She called me the very next morning and said, I'm just afraid somebody's going to buy that condo. I just want to go in and put a contract on it, sight unseen. And it's a nice condo, and it's the only one available in this complex, and it's really priced right. And I sent her a contract through DocuSign. She signed it. My seller signed it. I literally closed a deal while I was on the road traveling and speaking. I met her yesterday. We looked at the property. She gave me the earnest money, loved the condo, and they're doing the inspection this evening and with the building inspector actually right now. But it's a different way that we do business. Now, here's a little app, and this is interesting if you want to take a note of this and download it. It's called Doorstep Swipe. Doorstep Swipe. And it's from Realtor.com. And here's how it works. A person will download this app called Doorstep Swipe, and they will put in their zip code and some parameters, and Doorstep Swipe has a little button that says Surprise Me. Now, it's kind of like Pandora, if you like Pandora or you've ever listened to Pandora radio, and it has a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I remember the first time I was listening to Pandora, and I thought, man, this is cute. This is really cool. And I love music. And I said, they played a song and I wasn't crazy about it. And I said, I gave it a thumbs down. And I remember the little verbiage that popped up on the screen. It said, we're sorry, we'll never play that song again. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. I didn't mean never again. It's like, I like the song. I just didn't want to hear it right now. But think about Doorstep Swipe. And the reason I show this to you, there's 2 reasons I'm showing this to you. Number one, consumers are literally making decisions about whether they will look at a property on the front view of a home. Front view, first view. So whatever picture you have lined up as number 1 on your MLS that's being pushed out to some of these listing portals, that's the picture that's showing up on apps like Doorstep Swipe. And that is the picture that consumers may say, hey, I'll give that a thumbs up. Let's look at it, or I'm not interested in that home. And I remind people, brokers, managers, sales associates, that you really need to know how attractive is that front picture, because if it's not very attractive, they're going to go right on by. And I think it's extremely important for us to remember that. The second thing I want you to understand about this app is that I have an agent right now that I know in Park City, Utah, who actually downloads this to an iPhone, gives it to her customers, the buyers, puts the zip code in, the parameters, and then they click surprise me. All of the properties come up. Her clients actually swipe through the front view of the home and will say, yeah, let's look at that one, or no, let's don't look at that one. So we need to be conscious of that. Jeremy says he uses Doorstep. It's pretty decent. I wish they would allow you to connect with their lender better, though. I have 3 clients using it right now. They love it. Makes me look like a superhero to them. Great. Thanks for sharing that, Jeremy. I appreciate that. But it is really an interesting app. And it's these are the kinds of things that consumers are using. So number one, as Jeremy just told us, which is cool, is buyers love it, and he looks like a hero to them. So thank you for that testimony, Jeremy. And number two, I just think, I mean, I've gone into some zip codes where I've used this, and I'm thinking there's some houses that I'm giving thumbs down, and then I'm thinking to myself, but I wonder, that little house, as I've mentioned to some folks not too long ago, that little house could be as cute as could be inside. And that little seller could be getting up early every morning, making the beds, running the sweeper, doing all of this stuff, hoping they're going to have a buyer come through and look at their home. And because their agent has a cruddy, ugly photograph on the outside, it's never going to get shown. Isn't that sad? And that happens today. We know it does. So it's a mobile world. It's a world where consumers are making decisions without looking at pictures or looking at properties, where they're making decisions based off their mobile phone and a front view of their property. And we've got to learn and create some better ways that we can capture these folks. Now, here's a slide showing the picture of New York. I have a good friend, Danielle Grossenbacher, who works with a lot of very wealthy international buyers. Danielle is the president of FIOPSI, and I'm a member of FIOPSI. It's an international group where we work with real estate. We're real estate agents all over the world. And because I do a lot of work in France and some other countries, I've met a lot of these brokers, and it's been good for me as a real estate professional, but also good as a speaker. Danielle was telling me very recently, within the last month, how the international business has changed in New York City. She works for Brown Stevens on they have an office on Park Avenue, high-end, high-luxury real estate. And Danielle told me, she said, John, in the old days, buyers would be referred to you from another agent in another country or another part of the world. They would fly in, meet you, you'd show them apartments, they'd find one they liked, and they bought it. Danielle said today it's totally different. These buyers don't want to be tied down. And she jokingly but seriously said to me, the women shop on Fifth Avenue while the men search for properties on their iPad. They call the agents on their properties they like, and when they find one they want to purchase, they call up their wife, they look at them, and that's the deal. They close the deal. And she told me buyers want more freedom today. They don't want to be tied down, and they want to investigate and search for properties on their own. What does that tell us? And it's this right here. Content matters. And this is what we're going to work on during the coaching calls over the next however many weeks, and even into January. I just may have to go set some new dates into there, and there's no extra fee. So as I mentioned, you're always invited once you pay. Maybe in January, I'll put a little button on my website where if you want to give a love offering, you can. But if you don't, you can still come to church camp, okay? It's no problem. because I want to show you that there are some things we can do with online marketing strategies that can take us to a whole different world. Content really does matter. And I read this report called The Zero Moment of Truth from Google, which basically says this: because of the global economic recession and the explosion in technology, the way buyers interact with the brands is totally different today. No longer do they see your advertising and show up at your store wanting to learn more. What do consumers do today when they see an ad of yours or learn about you? Well, according to the Zero Moment of Truth, they pick up their laptops, their smartphones, they grab their tablets, and they search to see if you meet their needs. They might read a review, look for a coupon, watch a video, read a blog, go to a social network, your LinkedIn. Consumers are researching you, and you don't even know it. Most people don't know it. I read the Zero Moment of Truth, and I said to myself, well, this is a game changer for me, because I better keep my LinkedIn profile updated monthly. I better start getting more people to give me testimonies on my LinkedIn profile. I went last week to Little Rock, Arkansas, and had some people send me some nice testimonials from the class and how much they enjoyed it. And I asked them, would you write one of them who gave me just because the excitement that she had from what she learned in her email she sent me, and I said, would you mind to write that and put it on my LinkedIn profile as a testimony? And she did, but I had not had a new testimony on my LinkedIn profile for probably a year. And I thought to myself, John Mayfield, how many people have gone out to look at your LinkedIn profile around the country about hiring you to speak or hiring you as a real estate broker, and you haven't updated your LinkedIn profile? The consumers are researching us, and we've got to learn to keep that information current, updated, professional, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So we'll be doing that. The second thing that I noticed from the Zero Moment of Truth, and I'm already taking care of this right now, it's called cross-shopping behavior. And it means that consumers will jump from device to device to look at the same product or service. And when I read this, I said to myself, I do that all the time. I'll be looking at a product. I just purchased a drone, believe it or not. I have the GoPro camera, so I just bought a drone. I looked at that drone. I watched YouTube videos of people using the drone, and I researched the drone, read reviews, and I found that I had looked at that drone I purchased before I purchased it from my tablet, my smartphone, and my laptop computer. We do that today. And here's what the Zero Moment of Truth says about cross-shopping behavior. If consumers have a bad experience, 80% of them will leave your site immediately. Immediately. So you got to make sure your website is responsive. We'll talk about that, and we'll do that during our coaching calls, okay? Another item that the Zero Moment of Truth has said is that consumers are finding you in different places. And we're going to really do an exhaustive push on this throughout our coaching calls, because there are a lot of things we can do. And what do we mean by consumers are showing up in different places? Some people like to read a blog. Some people want to watch a video. Some people like to listen to a podcast. We don't know how they will find us. Have you ever gone to Google and went to Google Maps and then looked at the photographs? Here's an interesting app called Photosphere. It's free. It's made by Google. And by the way, Google is really employing you to work for them for free. Well, maybe not free. If you sell some property through, if you get business through it, it's not free, right? You're going to make some money off of it. But it's a pretty cool concept because Google says when a person goes out and searches for something, you normally see this on Google, don't you? The map over on the right, and you click on it. So we've got some photographs and we've got the map. And so with Photosphere, we actually, if you look at that little orange dot and you see the white parameter, you would literally take your phone and tilt it up until the white ring was completely around the orange dot, and it will snap a picture. And you continue to do that all around where you're standing, and Photosphere will make a 360-degree photo that people can look all the way around. Go back to the map. You say, oh, my wife and I just went to Sarasota, Florida. I have a license in Florida now. We're planning to sell real estate down there and do some business in Florida and back in Missouri. I mean, we're going to go back and forth to both states. We recently went to Sarasota. I clicked on Island Park, found it on Sarasota, and lo and behold, there's some photographs. I do this all the time. My wife does this all the time. We clicked on the photograph. There it is. That's Island Park. Pretty interesting. And there's a bunch of other photos. Look up there in the top left corner where the star is. It shows the picture of the man who took that picture and uploaded it. If I click on his link, his picture, his name, I go to this and it tells me how many pictures David has uploaded, how many total views he's had. 13,000 people have looked at his 35 pictures. And if I click one more time, I'm right to his Google Plus page. I can now, and he's not a real estate agent, but I can now, if I was on his Google Plus page, which I'll show you mine as we go through the coaching calls, I can look at the properties he has for sale. I could download an ebook. I could have a link to his website. His YouTube channel could be tied in there. And I could potentially get a consumer, a buyer or a seller because of this. Now, some of you may say, well, John, really? Do you think that works? And my answer is yes. That's what consumers are doing today. And if you're not taking advantage of some of the real interesting landmarks and places in your community, you're missing out on a real good opportunity. You use Photosphere, you take a picture and you upload it to the internet. You are standing in Holiday Park subdivision in Farmington, you take a picture on a corner and do your 360 with Photosphere, upload it to Photosphere, maybe put it on your website, and you put the keywords and tags in Farmington, Missouri, Holiday Park, Shenandoah, Holiday Park Drive, Sequoia, maybe a couple of those streets that are in Holiday Park, and it's on Google Plus, it's on Google Maps, it's on your website. And if there's somebody who's looking to purchase a home and they say, well, I know it's in Holiday Park, and they go to Google and type in Holiday Park subdivision, Farmington, Missouri, guess whose photo may pop up at the very top of the search results? Yours. And if they click on that and it takes them to a deeper level, because we're nosy as consumers anyway, and all of a sudden they end up on your website and you've got some really cool downloadable ebooks on 10 things you need to know before you purchase a home or this, that, or the other, you're going to win the internet battle. You're going to win the strategy. It's just that simple. Consumers want information. And this is a great book by Jay Baer. I met Jay this summer in San Diego at a conference he and I both were at. And he wrote a very fascinating book called Utility. And if you look at that top heading, it says, Why Smart Marketing is About Help, Not Hype. what I can just offer to you is that content rules, people are wanting different information, and we have the perfect vehicle to win the online real estate marketing puzzle. I mean, think about it. Buying a home and selling a home is so complicated to most people. They need our help. There's nothing wrong with you doing a short video or a short blog or something to help people out. And it will work. It really will. This is what I'm really talking about. And we're going to move into some interesting stuff here. But and this is my maybe someone else has come up with this 7 C's, but this is mine. I developed this, and here's what I'm thinking about, or my process. And you can tell me if I'm nutty or not. When we talk about the 7 C's for a successful online marketing strategy, number 1, you've got to create content. You have to. And that needs to be in multiple forms. Videos, blogs, Photospheres to Google Maps. You got to create content. And then when you create the content, though, you want to be able to capture the consumers, right? I mean, it doesn't do us any good if we're creating content and we're not getting any names or email addresses or phone numbers. And then third, once you get their name and email, you got to stay in touch with them. I mean, it does you no good to get their name and email if you never call them back. You're not going to cultivate them. I love what Lead Street Sam says, an agent down in Houston, Texas, a Remax agent, who, by the way, a lot of this stuff we're going to talk about, he's doing and making a lot of money. And this new idea that I kind of created, I told you about, that we're going to talk about on the coaching call, I actually am taking an idea that Lead Street Sam talked about, but I'm just taking it a step further. But he says the goal, you create the content or create stuff and you try to get their name and email, and then you want to get a face-to-face interview with them. Well, I don't care if it's face-to-face or how you do it. I just want you to communicate and cultivate a relationship so that you convert the transaction, make the sale. To recap, we're creating this stuff, content. We want to capture consumers. You want to communicate, cultivate, and convert. So how do we create content? That's the big thing. And we're going to be doing a lot of that over the next few weeks. And that is, you have to be different. Number 1, be different with your content. I had made a mistake, and actually, I went too far there. I want to go back one slide here. Left gasoline in my lawnmower over the winter. I didn't know that. I'm just a tech guy. I'm not a handyman. Well, lo and behold, I went in, did a quick Google search. Then I went to YouTube. Google search said you probably, if you left gasoline in your lawnmower over the winter, probably gummed up the carburetor and you need to clean your carburetor out. Well, how do you do that? Well, I go to YouTube, type in, and cleaning a carburetor on my lawnmower. You can probably see that. And I get this video, and I did a screenshot of this video because this is the one I watched. And he showed me how to clean my carburetor and take it apart and buy a couple dollars in parts, put it back together, and start my lawnmower. In the old days, I would have had to load it up in the back of the car and take it, but I knew I had to get the grass cut. We're in a different world now where people are expecting this kind of information. So I want you to think video. We're talking about creating content, and I want you to think video, and I'm going to show you a few statistics, and then we're going to talk about some things you can do with video. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, according to James McQuivry of Forrester Research, he says 1 minute of video is worth about 1.8 million words. video is huge. In fact, 46% of websites that have an online video make a sale. 80% of consumers who watch a video on your website can remember it up to 30 days after viewing it. And look at this, because these two statistics are mind-boggling. If you have a video added to your email, the click-through rate is 96%. Explanatory videos, the email jumps to 200%. Now, what do we mean by explanatory videos? How to buy a home, why you should come to work at this company, things you need to know about the loan process, getting pre-approved. So I was down talking to some RE/MAX brokers, and I said, here's a copy of my email address, my email template. What if I replace that with a video that I took off YouTube that's branded with RE/MAX with Dave Liniger on 5 things that can make a difference in your real estate career? Now, if you're a broker manager and you've got a video link with this, you've got a 96 to 200% click-through rate. Well, why not brand it with you in the video? Anne's on the call with us, as long as lots of other people. But Anne, I know you, and you are a very pleasant, non-threatening, very nice person. And if you had a video attached to your email just saying, hey, here's who I am, I'd love to do business with you. If you're thinking about real estate needs, give me a call. It doesn't have to be long. It would be a very effective video. Now, you don't have to make these videos very complicated or long and drawn out. In fact, a 15-second video will be shared 37% more than a 30 or a 60-second video. And by the way, most people will only hang around up to 2 minutes. So don't make these long and drawn out. 50 seconds, 40 seconds is all you need to do. And they don't have to be really over the top. In fact, if you remember the old management principle, the KISS principle that says, keep it simple. I won't add the last S on there because nobody's stupid, but just remember to keep it simple. And the one point I think is so important, and I learned this from a national speakers meeting we had in St. Louis last December. We had a gentleman there named Patrick Allman, and Patrick made a statement, and I said to myself, John Mayfield, you have blown it. You've let 2, 3, 4, 5 years go by and absolutely blew it. Because I wasn't doing video like I should have. And the reason was I thought they had to be perfect. And Patrick Allman said this: done beats perfection every time. You've got to get it done. You got to put it out on the internet. Done beats perfection every time. How can we do that? There are lots of products out there. The GoPro, this is what I'm going to use with my drone. And by the way, I'm not using my drone for commercial purposes because I know there's a lot of talk. I'm actually going to use my drone to shoot farms and land that I'm listing and selling, but more importantly, just to have it on my tablet so that when I meet buyers and out in the field or a seller, I can show them how I'm marketing, but I can show the buyers my tablet right from the property. But the GoPro camera is pretty cool. Here's what I did on my website. I actually did a GoPro video, a drive. I actually drove. We drive to the property. I set the GoPro camera up in my dashboard, and we take a drive to the property. Here's a lady that did a GoPro video going through a Christmas lights in her area. There's a lady doing a video at the farmer's market in her area. And the point is, local wins. It does. When you put keywords in, when you're doing certain things that people might search for on Google or Bing or whatever, local wins. And actually, I got a little photograph of Lead Street Sam. He's an older guy, and he's very successful. He has like 800 pages on his website. And here's his top 5 tips. You got to build repeat web traffic. And that's these first 2 points is the thing that I'm going to show you next week that I think is going to just really blow you away, because I've already done it and it works. You want to build repeat web traffic, and you want to get consumers to look at listings on your website. So what I figured out and what I'm going to show you next week is how to take listings, because right now I go into the MLS and I send a link to the people to go look at properties, and guess what? They're looking at properties through our Maris Matrix website, and I figured out how to take that link, embed it into my website so it's framed there, and I'm going to show you an easier way to do this. It sounds complicated, but now when I send that Maris report out, I'm actually going to send it to me, and I'm going to embed on my website a private page just for those buyers. And when they click on the email I send them, they will be going right to my website rather than the Maris website. Now, why am I doing that? A couple of reasons. Hopefully I'll have a lot of free ebooks and things they can download and videos. And so maybe I'll engage them further. Number 2, I'm getting more clicks on my website. And number 3, I'm adding more content to my website. So I'm trying to show Google that I'm a game player, a game changer, or a big player in real estate in Farmington, Missouri. Because at the end of the day, that's what Google's looking for. How active is your website? How many clicks do you get? If you go back and you watch a video or you study on the 2 people who really started Google from Stanford University, they were in a graduate program, and they put this database, this search engine together called Google to find out where they could get the most relevant and interesting information from the teachers who were posting information on the internet, which was new at the time. And these 2 people said to themselves, I mean, they've told this story, it only made sense for us. We noticed some teachers weren't posting anything at all, and some teachers were putting lots of stuff on the internet. And so we figured out a way to come up with this internet site called Google that would monitor the instructors and rank them according to who was posting the most new stuff, so that they knew where they could go to get content that would help them. And it only made sense. The people who are who are updating their website the most with links and information, that's where they wanted to go to get their information for their research. And they said, we use that same philosophy today. Think about it. It makes sense, doesn't it? If I'm going to Google to search for something, my end result is, let me find a product or the information I need. If I go to Google and I'm always typing in and I'm getting the wrong stuff, I'll go use Bing or somebody else. So I'm going to show you how you can actually now embed listing searches within your website. And when you send this to buyers, they will go to your website instead of going to the Maris site. Now, it's going to take a little bit more work, but if we can win the game, the SEO game, let me tell you what, I'm making all of my money today from the internet. I do no print advertising. The contract I wrote yesterday for cash, she told me she found me on the internet. I closed a deal just last week, cash. They found me on the internet, and they actually brought the flyer that I had embedded on the internet. They brought that with them when they came to look at the property. So this works. Now, other things we can do, and and this is kind of cool. It's called the Smoothie Steadicam. You hook your smartphone up with it. I bought this from Amazon, and now you can go out and take virtual tours while you're with the clients at their house with the Smoothie Steadicam. By the way, and you may have noticed I have on it's called the Boom headset, and I'm actually use the Boom. I plug it into the phone. The Boom is a noise canceling headset, and I do my virtual tours with this. They also have a version called the Curve for the GoPro camera, but it takes amazing videos. And this is a really interesting app, if you want to write this down, called Hyperlapse. It's from Instagram, and it speeds the video up to where this is a video I did of a farm, and I actually have a contract on this farm now. But I walked up the driveway and panned around so you could see the outside of the home, and Hyperlapse speeds the video up, and the Smoothie Steadicam takes all the rockiness out, or the jumping up and down. And so now I have this really cool video where I walk up the driveway, pan around, you can see everything, and we do all that in probably 7 seconds or 8 seconds, 10 seconds, where it probably took me 2 minutes to walk up the driveway. Because with Hyperlapse, I can control the speed of the film. You don't want to make them dizzy, but you can find the right speed, and it will glide with your Smoothie Steadicam. You'll glide right up the driveway. Now, I tell you all of this because there are some interesting things like ProMap from Pixel Films. We'll get into this, and I'll show you this, how to do this on the coaching calls, because I use Final Cut. This is a $29.95 template that I bought with. I buy a lot of their stuff, and you put points, and you can actually create video driving directions so you can show consumers how to get to the property, which is really cool. And we'll do this, but now I'm using my Smoothie Steadicam, my GoPro camera on my bicycle, and I'm mapping out the neighborhoods in Farmington and putting some interesting information along with that neighborhood. And I'm creating a subdivision with driving where people can ride along and see what the subdivision looks like using all of those particular things I just showed you. Now, why am I doing that? And by the way, I know this may take a 2-year, maybe a 1 or 2 year procedure. Why am I doing that? Well, if somebody goes and types in Briarwood subdivision, Deloge, Missouri, that video will probably pop up if I've got the right keywords or tags. If people come to my website and see all this cool stuff I have about the neighborhoods and a lifestyle map, they may hang around my website longer. Why? Because content rules, and people want help today. And according to the Zero Moment of Truth, it's a totally different world than what we were selling in 5 or 10 years ago. Here's a lifestyle map I created for a friend of mine in Nice, France. I do some work there, and this is one of my video creations that I created for them. When you put your mouse over the star, it tells you what the location is in that community. When you click on the star, it takes a video opens up, and you actually hear my voice. You see me. I'm on the side of the street there, and I say, come on, let's go take a look at some of the shopping in this is a shopping video. And all you see is pictures and video with some neat music, fading in and out, cutting, and we're going to do some video work on the coaching calls, but that's what we're talking about today. The other point that I want you to think about are how can you create a website where you're not losing leads. A lot of us have websites that are closed. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I mean, it's either closed or the office is empty. People are coming to your website, your online store, and they're saying, hello, anybody there? And nobody's talking to them. So they look around for a minute, and they leave. Why don't you engage with them? Add instant messaging to your website. it's not that expensive. I was using this company. I liked it for $36 a month. I'm actually using this company now. It's $20 a month. And it's mind-boggling the messages that I get from people who come to my website. I got one this morning. I'm averaging probably at least one a week, but probably two a week of offline messages. People who are coming to my website while I'm sound asleep asking for help. If I am up and I'm working, putting a new listing in, they can actually type me a message and it pops up and I can talk to them. And by the way, there is an iPhone and an iPad app, so you could literally be out playing golf or going for a walk, hear your phone ring, stop, and you could actually communicate or talk with somebody on your website for $20 a month. And if you're there, it'll show that you're online. If you are not there, they can leave an offline message. Very, very interesting things we need to think about without losing leads. The second thing that we're doing wrong with our websites is that people come to our website and they leave. I mean, they leave. They're not there very long. And, you know, Jeremy or Chris and several others, I saw a bunch of names out there that are on the call. You could call for those people all you want, but you're not going to get them. They're gone. They could have had a whole big wallet of cash in their pocket. The contract I wrote yesterday is a cash deal, and it's a fairly expensive piece of property. She found me on my website. Well, if I hadn't had some tools to be able to connect with her, I could have lost that lead to someone else. So how do we keep these people? Well, one thing is you could create some interesting opt-in books. Here's a book called Everything You Wish You Knew Before Buying a Florida Vacation Rental Home. To get the book, you have to give your name and email address. Now, we've talked about this some on our previous coaching calls, and we're going to dive back into it and work on it. But free reports, free ebooks, stuff that you want to give away can be huge. And when they sign up, they go to MailChimp, which we're going to use, or Constant Contact, or Aweber, and you get their name and email address, and now you can communicate with them. And you want to make sure you package your offer up. So basically you can create a 3D book very easily. We'll do that. And this is what we're really talking about here. You have people come to your website, you create an offer or a book. Remember, create content. Once they come to your website, you want to capture that lead, and then you have to communicate, cultivate, and convert. And I've shown you the last couple of coaching calls how you can do some really neat things with RPR reports. And if you're not using RPR, we'll look at it as well, but narrpr.com, really cool stuff. You can create digital magazines with this and really some cool stuff. Finally, I want you to keep in mind that the most visited page on your website is the About Us page. People are curious. There are ways you can do that with SlideShare and a little PowerPoint. Or you can take your iPhone or your smartphone. You can just create a really cool video with your smartphone and put it on your website. I did this. I went to list a house about a month ago, and the lady, I didn't know her. She called me and said she wanted to meet me. She was from St. Louis, and I get there and she starts mentioning some things about me that she knew, and I'm thinking, this is odd. How did this lady know this information? Well, come to find out, she told me she watched my video on my About Us page, and that's why she chose me to come out. So we can do some really cool things with it. There's Melody Loops that has some real neat ways to to create some information. And then you can even post this on YouTube, and I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So we got some great things to do. Remember, consumers are looking for information. They want to find out more about you. And they may jump over to your LinkedIn profile, because LinkedIn really does work. It's a huge networking tool. And by the way, I'm going to show you on LinkedIn, once we create that About Us page, we're going to upload it, and we are going to add that to our profile, because a lot of people don't realize on LinkedIn you can add a video or a downloadable ebook, and it's very, very powerful. Best time to post on LinkedIn, Tuesdays and Thursdays between 7 and 9 a.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays between 7 and 9 a.m. LinkedIn says if you have 20 posts per month, it can help reach 60% of your audience. Actually, that's a marketing group called Buffer, but LinkedIn has that information. And then we're going to save time on repeated tasks, because when someone links in with it, connects with us on LinkedIn, we want to follow up with a thank you. And if you use something like short keys, if you have a Windows machine, or text expander, if you have a Mac machine, you can create what is called a snippet. And a snippet is text that you do or use on a regular basis, like a closing paragraph to a letter. Or thanks for connecting with me on LinkedIn. Here's my profile and a little blurb about me and what I do and what I service as a real estate professional. And oh, by the way, here's a link to a video that will tell you more and let you meet me and find out more about me. And these are the things we can do. And now we can use short keys or text expander. And by typing in the short code we've assigned, like LK1, it puts all of that text right in for you automatically. And then you could go in and brush it up or edit or say, Dear Bob, new paragraph, LK1, and boom, all the information's there. We'll be working on that during the coaching calls as well. And social media, we're going to create the content. We're going to spend all of this time. We've got to do some social media. Social media is a whole different world. Well, Hootsuite's a great tool to be able to use for social media, because Hootsuite allows you to post at a later time, and you can post to all of your social networks at one time, and we'll be working with that as well. Finally, I want to show you how to monitor the activity on your site. And this is something else we're going to work at during our game plan, is to find out what pages do people like, and where are we going with this, and what should we create more of. So what can we learn from all of this? And by the way, you got to remember, when we start talking about a marketing online strategy and what we're going to be working on with the technology calls next week, is that this takes time. It's not like you're going to put a video up and it will go viral. I'm not saying that couldn't happen. But what I am saying is we've got to be patient, consistent, and diligent. I'm going to be real honest with you right now. Consistency has been my weakness, and I've got to change that. And one of the things that I want to try to do is create an updated accountability scorecard that will remind me that I have to get stuff posted and get it out there. So what can we learn from all of this? The zero moment of truth. It's fundamentally about getting closer to the customer. And to do this, you really need to understand the customer. What are they looking for? When are they looking for it? What information do they already have? And what's their state of mind? That's what the zero moment of truth is all about. Jay Baer says, if you're wondering how to make your product seem more exciting online, you're asking the wrong question. You're not competing for attention only against other similar products. Think about that. In fact, Jay says, you and I are competing against our customers' friends and family, viral videos, and cute puppies. He says to win attention these days, you must ask a different question. How can we help you? I think that's so interesting. And Ann Hadley and C.C. Chapman say, blogs, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus, and other platforms are giving everyone a voice. So how do you create your stories, videos, and blog posts to cultivate fans, arouse passion for your products or services, and ignite your business? I think there are two things we have to think about or remember as a takeaway. Customers and consumers are finding us in different places today, all kinds of different places. The days of running an ad and expecting people to just show up at your doorstep are going to be far and few between. There are other people looking in other places, and we've got to figure out how we can do that. And secondly, I think we just have to be different ourselves in both our marketing and our distribution. So what does technology and cheese have in common? There's a picture of Flat River, Missouri. In 1998, I believe it was 1998, I read the book, Who Moved My Cheese? And it changed my life. It changed my life so much that I moved my real estate office from Flat River to Farmington. I kept the office in Flat River. I probably should have never done that. I should have sold it the minute I moved, but I moved my office from Flat River to Farmington because I finally realized the cheese had moved. If you've never read the book, it's a short book. It's a great book. It's about 4 characters, 2 mice, Sniff and Scurry, and 2 little miniature humans that they call in the book called Hem and Haw. And basically what happens is the mice naturally, everybody's getting cheese from this one corridor, cheese station C. And they're all content with their find. One day the cheese disappears from corridor C, and the mice leave to go on and find other cheese. But Hem and Haw get a little bit annoyed because somebody moved the cheese. Well, Sniff and Scurry, the 2 little mice, they found new cheese at Station N and kind of hung out there. And Hem and Haw were basically affected by their lack of cheese, and each blamed each other for their problem, hoping to change the other. Hem is confronted with the old routines, frightened about the unknown, but he knocks at the idea again, and for a while, he just basically says, you know, I'm going to stay here because the cheese is going to come back. Haw moves on and basically decides he's going to leave. And he writes this on the wall, 2 things. If you do not change, you can become extinct. He goes a little further when he finds the new cheese and he says, what would you do if you weren't afraid? And so the moral of the story is this, in Who Moved My Cheese? Change happens. They keep moving the cheese. Isn't that true? We need to anticipate change. Get ready for the cheese to move because it's going to move again. Monitor the change. Smell the cheese often so you know when it's getting old. I loved my Palm Pilot, but there was a point in my life when I knew my Palm Pilot, the cheese was old. I loved the Windows machine. I was always an HP guy, used Windows for years, and then I'm teaching a class and I see all of these apples staring at me and all of these young kids, and it was like I smelled the cheese and I knew that I had to make a change. As a technology teacher, adapt to the change. The quicker you let go of the old cheese, the sooner you can enjoy the new cheese. Change. Move with the cheese. Enjoy change. Enjoy doing videos. Savor the adventure. Enjoy the taste of new cheese. And finally, be ready to change quickly and enjoy it again. Because you know what? They keep moving the cheese. So my motto or philosophy is this. Don't be chained to thinking you have to do business the way you've always done business. We can do some new, interesting, neat things. So we're going to start these coaching calls on Fridays. It says Thursdays there, but because of Thanksgiving and Christmas, we're moving them to Fridays. And I appreciate you letting me do this video on this first day because I'm going to share this with the Hawaii Association of Realtors. For some of you who may have joined a little bit late, I did a webinar for them. Unfortunately, I forgot to hit the record button, and I had about 186 people on the call, and I've been getting flooded with emails asking if they could rewatch the webinar, because we do go through it kind of quick, and a lot of folks wanted to rewatch it, and I like to record those anyway. And so this helps me out a lot today because my mother had surgery this morning and she's doing fine, doing real well. Unfortunately, she fell again. And I'm trying to finish up a paper for my master's program with Realtor University over the weekend. And I was like, if I do a coaching call today for my folks, and then I still have to record that session, it really helped me out to be able to do this. And I hope it was helpful for you. I don't think anyone actually had seen this before. If you have, I really apologize. And well, thank you, Pictor. I appreciate that. And thank you, Anne. I appreciate that. So I hope this was helpful for you. And we're going to really dig in next Friday, and I'm going to show you some cool things that I'm working on. And come prepared to ask questions. It's not all about me talking. If there's a particular issue that you need help with, I want you to say, hey, John, can we spend some time going over this, or how could I do that a little more effectively? And by golly, we'll dig into that and do that for you, because these are your calls, and I want this to be helpful for you. So we'll visit next Friday, and I will probably be doing the call from my car, because I just remembered we'll be coming back from Florida next Friday, but that's no problem. My daughter's going to drive, but and I've got my Boom headset, so you probably would never even know I'm in the back seat of the car, but I'll have my hotspot, and we'll be talking tech as we meet again next Friday. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you watching, and I hope you have a great weekend. Bye.